Monster RX93.1 presents Heard on Thursdays. Hot conversations on hot topics. Your host, Nikki Porter.
Hey, monsters. Good evening. Time for another episode, Women's Month edition for Heard on Thursdays, the show that made Philippine FM radio talk with me as your host, Nikki Porter. So I am so excited tonight. I have a very special guest. I've known her for quite some time. Not quite some time. I've known her for quite some time. Okay, so anyway, in this day and age, and despite many obstacles that still exist, women are succeeding in most fields of endeavor. And honestly, we love to see it, right? And our guest tonight is a very accomplished woman who has made her mark in fashion, lifestyle media, in where else? In print and digital publications, in fiction writing, life coaching, content creation, and some of which, or most of which, she actually did it during a time when, let's just say, the world was not really welcoming to female achievement. But her motto, join lang ng join, has taken her a long way. She became famous as one of the Philippines' top fashion models. She is a Palanca award-winning writer for fiction. With Summit Media, she was the editor-in-chief for Cosmopolitan, for Marie Claire, FemaleNetwork.com, Spot.ph, and currently she is also a motivational speaker and confidence coach. And she's focusing on digital creation with her live streams, TikTok, and Ask Miss Myrza. Her mission is to empower women to achieve their goals, fulfill their dreams, and really just kick butt out there as a woman. Heard on Thursdays, the fabulous, and I don't mean that frivolously, the fabulous Myrza Sison.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Yay. Oh my gosh, what's happening? I love it. I'm so excited. Oh no. Okay, so we're encountering a little bit of technical difficulties. Myrza will have to reconnect in just a little bit. But Heard on Thursdays, you guys, it's happening tonight. I got a lovely multi-hyphenate guest, Myrza Sison, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to break the glass ceiling, why we should, and why we should just live the lives the way that we want to. Not because of, what people say how we should live our lives, right? All right, enter Myrza Sison. Are you back?
Hello again.
All right. Okay. So welcome, Myrza. I'm so glad to be able to talk to you tonight. And for the past couple of years, of course, we've all experienced so many different things, especially because of the pandemic. And I've done or started a lot of things as well. So I want to know on your side, what's up? What have you been doing? What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. So much and so little. Can you relate?
Yes. Actually.
In the early days of the pandemic, I guess we were all shell shocked, and there was a lot of lying down on the couch, catatonic, unable to move until I finally got my bearings and just decided to find something to do because I tried to get into hosting, but there were no events. So talk about like obstacle, right? So it was the trend when Zoom came about and StreamYard and all these platforms. It was the trend to put up your own live stream. And so I very quickly learned how to do that, and I just joined lang nang joined.
Sure.
And I just did it. Like I had to be pushed off the cliff, and a few friends pushed me off the cliff. And before you knew it, I had recorded and streamed live 100 episodes.
Wow. Oh my
Both
gosh.
TikTok and Ask Miss Myrza. And now I have a podcast on Podcast Network Asia called You Can Do This.
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, so eventually you really you started from 0, and then you went all the way to
I
100.
know.
Like,
I don't know how I did it. I just like tried to create a habit out of it, and I put one foot in front of the other. I didn't even
mm,
know uh, how to. I didn't know how to do anything. I was so non-technical. So I had to buy a ring light. Now I have
oh
three.
yeah.
I feel like
Now you have 3.
webcam and a professional mic and
I love it. I love the growth though. It's so amazing because I mean it's very hard. I mean it's a challenge, of course, to do something that you've never really tried before. Even if people have been wanting you to start something that feels like something
right.
that you would do as well. So it's really awesome that you were able to do that, and it's led you to do so many things, so many episodes, talk to so many people, and that's one of the things I actually love about Heard on Thursdays is meeting different people as well. So now that you're focusing though on digital content creation, do you miss like the deadlines, the EODs, the meetings for publication media and the fashion industry? Do you
Right.
miss like that hustle and bustle?
Of course, in the beginning, I did not miss it at all. I was so happy to like actually have the ability to lie on the couch without
Mm.
any obligations whatsoever. But
Yeah.
2 years into the pandemic, I have newfound appreciation for that speed, for the what is the word, for the pace of life
Hmm.
that we both had an experience,
Yeah.
because uh, left to your own devices at home with no company, you kind of go a little bit nuts, right?
True.
So
That's
I
true.
kind of missed the people and the deadlines and people wanting things from me and just the routine. So now
Mm-mm.
I've learned that it helps to really build a routine and integrate deadlines into your life. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen and you
Right.
just stagnate. So, a
Yeah.
good balance of both, I think, is key in this day and age.
Mm-mm. So have you come up with a new routine since? Like you do miss like the pace of publishing and also of the
Right.
fashion industry, but
Right.
have you eventually compromised to come up with your own routine so that you actually don't feel like you're not being productive in a day?
Yes. And I just unlocked it today with my own coach, because
Mm,
coaches coach each other. And I was
yeah.
able to unlock it just tonight that I'd like to blame Netflix for disrupting the routine. Because I've
Yes.
come to determine that Netflix binging leads to lack of sleep, which leads to waking up late, which
Mm-hmm.
leads to very poor quality of productivity, poor quality of health, poor quality of fitness.
No.
And
I
so
feel
I
that.
was able to work out with my coach that if I cut down on the Netflix, because you can't watch one episode of a series,
True. Yeah, I agree.
right? Like in installment basis, you have to finish the whole damn thing. And so,
Mm-hmm.
where does that leave you? Very sleepless and
Mm-hmm.
haggard and unproductive. And so, uh, I have resolved and I'm willing to be accountable for this, to turn off the Netflix at 11 p.m., get into bed, and instead of scrolling mindlessly
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram, turn on a calm app or something, sleep for 8 hours, go to the gym by 7 a.m. And I found out that I'm more productive if I work out in the morning
Oh,
rather
okay.
than the afternoon, and
Mhm.
vow to have a productive scheduled day. This is all in theory, of course. Let's see what happens in the next few weeks. The
All
beauty of
right.
I
As
have
long as you put it down like in your mind or on paper.
That's the
If
beauty
you
of
don't,
coaching. If you hear
yeah.
yourself articulating your thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
you're accountable to somebody listening to you, reflecting
Yes.
back what you have just said, that makes it
Yeah.
more real and it makes you more prone to executing your plan.
All
So
right.
there.
Well, Mirza, this is until midnight, so I hope that by 8 o'clock you wake up.
We'll push the schedule
Yeah.
forward hour.
Yeah, for an hour. Well, I love that. I love that you figured out a routine, and hopefully it does work out eventually in the next coming weeks for you. And so you have so many things like in your bag. You've got like you were a model, you are a writer, you're a journalist, content creator, you're a coach, a motivational speaker. So it's like there are so many questions, of course, that come into mind to figure out like what, how did you do all of these things? So at the start, for all the monsters and everyone listening, this is Heard on Thursdays, and we're trying to figure out Myrza Sison's journey from from model to now like a confidence coach. So
Right.
at the start, I remember you telling or sharing with our team before that you actually majored in statistics in UP, I
Yes.
think. And so from there, though, you decided to become a model. So can you tell us, especially how
Right.
the conversation went with your parents? Because, like, I'm saying statistics, but I want to be a
Yes.
model.
Okay, here comes the blame the parents portion of
Oh,
the
no.
show. I love them dearly and I have no
Mhm.
regrets whatsoever, but they were just looking out for me and they wanted the best for me. And so my helicopter parents decided that I was to have a career in computers
Mhm.
because I was good in math. Um, I finished college actually well, I entered college at age 14.
What?
So if you
Whoa.
rewind back in time, I think the minute my dad learned that I was advanced for my age, he plotted my career. So at
Oh
age
my.
3, I was reading newspaper headlines. By age 11, I entered a science high school.
Ooh.
So he's like, ganon, magaling ka pala sa math. Let me plot your career trajectory this way. And so he planned a career in computers for me. And because you're 14,
Mm-mm.
you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, 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 I'll do it. But and then my first job was actually as a computer programmer for SGV and company. But deep down inside, I wasn't happy. And I realized just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's what you should do. And
Right. Yeah.
so now I blame my dad owns Book Sale. I don't know if you
Mm.
know Book Sale,
Yeah.
the bargain bookstore and
Mm-hmm.
magazine company. And so we grew up with all with every imaginable book and magazine you could find. And so I guess these magazines poison my mind,
Oh no. You know.
create my own destiny. And I realized, okay, you don't really actually have to do what you're supposed to do, and you can do whatever you want. You just need to craft a plan and be bold enough to say, this is my life, this is how I'm going to live it. And so, to my parents' utter shock, after 2 years of being a computer programmer, I said, I'm giving it all up and I'm going to be a model. And their jaws dropped and they're like, why did we send you to school? Why did you have to study math if you're going to pose for a living?
No, no.
Was very
Gosh.
hard to explain, but by that time I
Mm-mm.
had fallen in love with magazines like Vogue and Glamour,
Mhm.
and in my imaginary fantasy world, I was a model. And so I chucked it all and I figured out how that could happen. I found out, I did my research. This is pre internet. And then
Mhm.
eventually I did it. And so I was so happy for 7 years because it was such a creative job. And it was actually harder than I thought it would be. It seems very easy on the surface, but it's a whole other set of skills, physical
Mm.
skills, and a lot of creative and mental skills as well. You need a lot of grit. You need to learn how to face rejection on a daily basis. You need to fit into the clothes.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
You need to face hundreds of people in the audience on the runway. So
Mhm.
it was a whole other set of skills. And I traveled, I met the most creative people, and I have no regrets. And
Mhm.
so there. And after modeling, I decided to go back to my first love. In the first place, at age 5,
Mhm.
I wanted to be a writer. And then I begged
Mm.
my
Okay.
parents again. Again, I love them dearly. My father said, "You cannot be a writer," because it was the Marcos regime. And as we know, writers and journalists were thrown in jail for speaking
Mm.
up against the government. And so I was banned from studying journalism in UP. And
Oh,
my
okay,
dad said,
gotcha.
the writers will just be thrown in jail and the country will fall into the hands of the communists, but the scientists will be spared. And so you shall be
Oh no.
scientists. That's
Yeah.
his grand
Mm-hmm.
plan. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went back to my first love, writing. And so I married my love for fashion and my love for writing and declared one day as I was approaching my modeling expiration date. As you know, it's a very
Oh,
ageist,
yeah.
it's a very
Mm-hmm.
ageist profession. And I just announced, I'm a writer.
I
With
love
no
that.
credentials, no background. And I just like spread the word that, hey, if you need a writer, I'm a writer.
I
And
love that.
somebody took the bait and hired me to write press releases for like a fashion store. Eventually, the press releases made their way onto the desk of Milet Manangkil, lifestyle editor of the Philippine Star. And then
Wow.
eventually, I found myself becoming the first fashion editor of Preview magazine in 1995. It's just one thing just led to another. I guess
Yeah.
act as if you are something. You could be that something. And so that's
Yeah.
another maxim that I use to get my readers to imbibe. Act as if
Mhm.
and you will be. So
Act as if and you will be. It's almost like fake it till you make it. Kind
it's like the Anna Delvey school of
of.
imposter.
But it worked out for you. But it
Yes,
worked out for
everybody
you.
does it. So
Yeah.
there.
I love that though. No, and it's amazing that you said what you wanted to be and then you became it. And even if like there was no you didn't have like the degree for in
Not
journalism to
all.
actually be a writer, but then you still succeeded in it, and then it fell into the to the desk of a very notable person also, and then that's how you started becoming like an editor. So there's so many things that just kind of fell into place eventually when you started to become a model, when you were a model, and then everything fell
But
into
wait,
place.
I have a disclaimer though.
Okay,
You,
sure.
you can act as if you are something, but you must deliver. This, I have to
Yeah,
make it very
yeah,
clear.
that's important.
If you don't deliver, you're in big
Yeah,
trouble.
don't keep faking if you're not delivering.
So I did like kind of panic, and when I became like editor in chief of Cosmo, I'm like, oh my god, what did I get myself into? I better know what I'm doing. So I kind of like learned as much as I could, and
Hmm.
uh, really did the work in order to deliver what was expected of me. So
Yeah.
you have to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And so throughout your journey though, did you face any serious obstacles or prejudices along the way? Particularly, it is Women's Month after all, but it was because of your gender. Do you have any significant moments where you actually prove themselves, yeah, I'm a woman, but it's because I'm a woman I was able to do it, kind of thing?
uh, It because the industries that I worked in, fashion and publishing, they're
Mm,
kind of female or gay dominated.
hmm.
So I didn't go through the usual maybe gender discrimination in more male dominated professions.
Right, right.
But I did have a good grasp of what was happening around me enough to like tackle the issue and write about it and give advice to the readers. And
Hmm.
so even if I didn't experience it firsthand, uh, yeah, I think I was fortunate enough, but I was
Hmm.
aware of what was going on around me. If there was any doubt about my abilities, it was from my own self.
Oh, that's another enemy that we gotta try and conquer, right?
Right, right,
Oh, so but in the modeling world though, today, the modeling world today,
right,
what do you think is different when you were still, when you were a runway model, when you were
right.
gracing the pages of
Right.
magazines. What's different? What's different now in the modeling world? What do
Right.
you
It's much, much more inclusive today.
think?
Right.
True.
During my time, you had to be like a size two, or you couldn't work. And now it's kind of inclusive. It's like all shapes and sizes, all complexions, all kinds of hair texture, all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
types, all kinds of gender. So it's much more inclusive today. And during our time, there's no Photoshop. And so we really needed to maintain uh, a flawless complexion and uh, starve.
Oh no.
Starve.
Gosh.
So that's the major difference. And
Mm-hmm.
it's much, much more competitive today. It's inclusive yet competitive, yet I think more doors are open now. You can, if nobody ever books you as a model, you can just kill it on social media and people
Yeah.
will pay attention. You
Yeah.
know, if
Absolutely.
you become viral, or if you become known for something, and if you declare that you are attractive and deserve to endorse products or wear
Mm-hmm.
clothes because you're talented, it's like open season for like showing what you're about. Not
Mm-hmm.
like before where other people did the choosing, and now it's much more democratic, I think, and inclusive.
Yeah. That's true. And so let's say if you were in your 20s now, and you're just starting out into your modeling career, what do you think would be, I mean, it is inclusive yet still competitive. What would still be the biggest obstacles you'd have to face as you enter into like the modeling world, or even not just modeling world? It's let's add like writing or publishing into that as well.
Right. I think um, because I'm not blaming social media, but you must admit it makes people more prone to get into self doubt.
Yeah.
Like way back then when we didn't know what other people were thinking and they weren't so vocal about it, right?
Yes. Yes.
I assume it was less, it made us less prone to overthinking and self doubt, and
Mm.
maybe we fear judgment less. I'm not sure. There's no way to measure it, but yeah, that's what makes it harder now because young people. I know so many young people who will, for days, try to compose the caption on a post.
That's me.
I'm not
Yeah, that's so
I'm
true.
not immune to that either, and
Yeah.
I am no longer young, so it does something to you, I guess. Spend days composing a caption, and we worked as writers, right? So it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
matter of not knowing how to write, but it's really the self doubt that I think social media gives, lends itself a breeding ground for.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
That's
Right.
true. Because and yeah, I totally agree because it's like there's so much self-doubt now because you are comparing yourselves to so many people online and seeing all their photos and even their captions. I totally agree. And like the reason why it takes me for so long because I'm also thinking, okay, I got to think of a caption that's like, okay, they can like it already even without looking at the photo. Even the photo's not that great. So it's like you really want that engagement. Diba?
Because the
So you
likes give us a dopamine high. And I think we're
yeah.
all addicted to that dopamine high when
Yeah.
we shouldn't be. I mean, way back in my time, you didn't really know if you did a good job or not. I guess if you didn't get published, the editor didn't think you were worthy, but
Yeah.
you weren't like um you weren't fearing the whole world's judgment, or like your titas, or like whoever that you imagine is judging you. And I think a lot of it is really all in our imagination, actually.
That's very true. And so, in terms of digital content creation, also, in terms of influencers as well, do you think they're more or less credible than the lifestyle writers and columnists back then, or even those who are still, in that industry? Are they more or less credible, you think, the influencers now?
compared to the
Compared
columnist.
to yeah, columnists, like lifestyle columnists, writers, because now we kind of depend on them for like what's
Right,
the best thing, where's the best place to go,
right,
best skincare, like
right.
that, etc.
I think it's hard to compare. You can't really generalize. I mean, there are influencers that you would like to be influenced by,
Hmm.
and there are those that you kind of weed out because you know that they're not going to influence you in any way. And
Hmm.
I think back then the columnists were the influencers, and there weren't very many because there were a very limited number of publications.
Hmm.
And I think even today, uh, advertisers or people who own businesses, they don't necessarily just get just influencers or just traditional media. They still do a mix of both,
Yeah.
and so it's very hard to compare. I don't think you
Okay.
can really generally say that one is better than the other.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Maybe all I can say is that legit publications had copy editors,
That's a good
which is
point.
you know the copy editors that shape the copy. And
Hmm.
maybe now these days in digital media, it's becoming less and less important. I mean, when we worked together, that seems like a whole lifetime ago, and
A little
you
bit.
know how much of a grammar Nazi I was. But maybe now, like now when I read something, I'm like cringing, but then it doesn't matter because people aren't really reading articles word for word. They're just really
Yeah.
browsing, scrolling. And so,
Hmm.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I used to say that pictures were the new words, and now video are the new pictures.
Yeah.
With podcasts, audio is the new video. So it keeps changing.
Yeah. And it's really just it's just a matter of time before like more people just start to adjust into the terms of
Right,
into how they create their content, and
right,
it's already saturated, it's going to be even more
right,
saturated the more comfortable people get.
right,
Now,
right.
in terms, like, so we've talked a little bit about writing as well, and you wrote for a number of publications, and you also became a fiction writer. So
Right,
how did that come to be? Because it's a lot different from writing for publications for
right,
magazines and everything. So how did that happen when you became a fiction writer, and what was the idea about, I guess, when you first started?
right. I remember as a child writing stories all the time, reading stories and writing stories, making up my own books, like really crafting tales out of nowhere. And because I was not allowed to pursue a career in writing, I felt like it was always like not a closed book. And I had a yearning to tell stories. So around 2003, I decided on the side to try and get a master's degree in creative writing from UP. So I took night classes,
Wow.
but then I only lasted for a year and a half because work really made it impossible. And
Mm-mm.
so I had written two short stories for the short fiction class. And one of them won a palanca.
Yes, we're just gonna get to that. So
Not
I mean,
expecting because like a professional palanca joiner friend of mine said, don't be upset if you don't win. I've been joining for 10 years
oh my
and I haven't won. You have to keep joining. And so there's a funny story about the day before the palanca awards.
god. Hmm.
Jessica Zafra texted me and said, did you win the palanca awards? I'm like, no, I didn't. She said, we heard from the rumor mill that you won. I'm like, what? I didn't get a notice or a text or a letter. She said, why did
Yeah.
you ask them? Why did you ask them what? Just email them. I said, email them what? Hey, Palancas, did I win? It's like, why not? Mark Maley did it. Mark Maley, the famous director. And
Mhm.
so I very sheepishly emailed, hi, I heard a rumor. Did I win? And they're like, didn't you get the letter?
Oh my
It
god.
was a physical letter,
Mhm.
which I found out later that the guard of my building stuffed in a drawer and never
What?
gave to me. And it was the day before the award.
Ay. Oh no. Oh my gosh. At least you
So there.
figured it
And
out.
so I know, right? Like, what if I never found out?
Mhm.
Um, and so that was 2006. And I always felt bad about not really um, pursuing it and learning everything I could about it. And so after I retired from Summit Media in 2019, I said, I'm going
Mhm.
to go back to writing. And so now I'm currently enrolled under my former teacher back then in UP, Christina
Mhm.
Pantoja. And I'm targeting completing my first anthology of short fiction. I'm halfway through, and it's harder. It gets harder and harder. The more you know, the harder it gets. Which is why I tell people who are just starting out, enjoy your writing innocence, because when you're innocent, you just write and it just flows so
Mhm.
naturally. But the more you know about the craft and the
Mhm.
art of fiction,
Mhm.
the harder it
Yeah.
gets. And I'm trying not to be debilitated again by those fears.
Yeah. And well, I actually want to talk a little bit about those collection of short stories that you have. But before that, though, you did win a Palanca Award, Mirza. I want to know what. Do you still remember what the short story was about?
Yes,
The
it's called
entry. What is it?
Sink or Swim,
Mm-hmm.
which is about an 8-year-old girl whose swimming teacher is the mistress of her father.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
uh, you find the protagonist in like literally deep water with a person she considers her enemy and yet is teaching her how to survive and learn how to swim. And so
Wow.
that was
That's
the
pretty
story.
complex, actually.
Yeah, I know.
That's so great. Oh my gosh. Well, that's really awesome. So, now though, from Sink or Swim, now you're writing a collection of short stories. Is there a common theme in your stories, or are they more random as they come and you'll just like, okay,
Right.
I'll just categorize it as I line up the collection?
I'm trying to escape the natural common theme of an 8-year-old little girl. It's always an 8-year-old little girl who
Mhm.
is very stressed out by her home life, and she's always an overthinker. So I have like 3 or 4 stories already with the same protagonist, and I keep trying to write other things, and I have written other things. There's one about a model discovered in a forest by
Oh.
4 gay guys in an orange car
Oh my gosh, I already love it.
who were to become their Zwingalis and transform her into a
That's
supermodel.
great.
It's called Sayang.
Mm-mm. Oh my
So
gosh.
there.
That's really cool. Ah, that's so cool. I'm excited. I'm excited for these to come out for sure. So now though, aside from the collection of short stories that you're writing, you also have a self-empowerment manual, and it's
Right.
the title is Join Lang Nang Join, which if you guys have ever been in the presence of Mirza or have like hung out with her a few times or worked with her, you'll know that this is the motto that she will say like almost every day to somebody who
Did
feels
I
like they needed a
really? Did
boost.
I really say that to you?
You said it to me like at
Okay.
least once. You said it at least once.
All right.
That's why it's seared in everyone's brains. Like
Okay.
when you know it's when it's
Right.
Mirza, join na nang join. So
Right.
and it
Right.
served well, and it served well over the years as well, and it shows also your journey. So it shows passion, it shows also a little bit of humility and optimism. So I know the story is a little bit behind your journey, but the like the term itself though, like how did that come about?
Right. So when I started modeling, it was already a thing back then. Like our mostly gay mentors
Hmm.
would try and encourage young models to not overthink things and get past their fears and just join lang nang join. Whatever it was, they could join. Whether it
Mm-mm.
was a beauty contest, if you had any fears, join lang nang join. Don't overthink it. If there was a casting for a commercial and you felt, that you were not whatever enough to try
Hmm.
out, you'd say, don't overthink it. Join lang ng join. Whether it was any opportunity, they say there's a requirement for. Uh, I remember this story that I couldn't forget about an older model who said that she went to every casting, even if the requirement was can drive a car. She didn't know how to drive a car, but she got. And when they were filming the commercial and she didn't know how to drive the car, she's like, "Oops, I don't know how to drive a car," but she got the part, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it said a lot about not saying no to opportunities that might present themselves to you because you never really know where they will
Yeah.
lead. And so I took this motto and I applied it to the rest of my life and tried um, to not, make a big deal out of things. And even if you have so many reasons why you can't do something or be something, if you just give it a try, you'll never know where it will lead you. It could also be called go lang nang go or try lang nang try.
Yeah.
So there. And then
But we
when
prefer
I
join lang
look
ng
back,
join.
I actually remember that my mother, hi ma, hi pa, my mother used to force me to join contests. Like, when you're a little girl and there's a
Mhm.
children's birthday party, okay, there's like trip to Jerusalem, join, drawing contest, join, right? Like,
Yeah.
not singing contest because I really had no talent, but she would always writing contest, join. Uh,
Mm-mm.
whatever she would like find the clipping. I remember she showed up in UP one day in the library and I'm like, why are you here? She said, I found a clipping, the Japan Airlines essay writing contest. If you win, you win a trip to Japan. I'm like, oh my God.
I love it.
So they just pushed us to join. So I guess it started
Mm-mm.
even way before modeling. And it's a good mindset to adapt. And
Yeah.
I admit I had difficulty after I had retired and during the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should have immediately applied the join lang ng join motto.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that the older you get, you tend to be more fearful because when you're young and innocent and you don't know what kind of dangers befall you, you're more
Mm-hmm.
brave, right? And you have nothing to lose. And then the older you get and the more you achieve, you have more to lose and you feel like you will be judged more. And so I've really tried hard to unlearn it in my older years and
Mm-mm.
try to go back to the mindset of the innocent, fearless 20 something that I once was.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, there are still a lot of young people that seem to be not very enthusiastic with the concept of like join lang ng join because I know even personally, I know that there is this fear of rejection. So
Right,
how as a coach, Coach Mirza, how do how do we deal with like that anxiety, overthinking of
right,
like what if we don't get in, what if we get
right,
rejected, and it does come that you do get rejected time and again because it does happen. How do you move forward from that?
right. Well, a good coach never gives advice, but I will shortcut it, remove my coaching hat, and give
Okay,
advice. If
sure.
you, I think we are afraid to fail. We are afraid to fail because we fear judgment.
Mm.
But as they say, there is no failure, only feedback. If you fail, there's something that you learn with every failure, which helps you succeed in the long run. I don't think anyone who ever succeeded never failed.
True.
It's
Mhm.
usually a whole cycle of trying, failing, falling down, getting up, trying, failing, falling down, getting up. And the more you fail, the more confident you become, because the bigger your failure, the more you're emboldened to try again.
Mm-hmm.
I remember,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've heard of the masterclass series,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I bought the very expensive package. And
Me too.
Sarah Blakely, the inventor of Spanx, talked
Mm-hmm.
about when she was a little girl at their dinner table
Yeah.
every night, they were encouraged to talk about how they failed that day. And so each member of the family would tell everyone, this is how I failed today. And the
Mm-mm.
purpose of doing that, as the father devised, was to teach the children not to be afraid of failure. And so it really served her well as an entrepreneur. People think Spanx
Yeah.
was her first invention, but it was not. She just knew that she wanted to invent something big. And by the time she found herself inventing Spanx, she had failed so many times before that. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a good way to look at it,
Yeah.
and
And
will try to apply that to myself.
true. And her story, I actually did attend quote unquote her masterclass. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
do know this. I do know this
right,
story. It's pretty cool, and it's something I think we can all try and learn. Like acknowledge the failure. It's nothing to be shameful about.
right, right.
And maybe that's one way that we can actually move forward.
I
So
think if you factor in the failure as part of your learning curve
mm,
into the time it will take for you to achieve something, you factor it in as a given that you will fail, then you will not be afraid,
yeah.
because you'll know that it's part of the process.
Gotcha. I hope there are monsters who are tuned in and they are learning. And I am just trying to like open up my motivation also to join in and join and, not fear rejection as well. Sometimes we need a little reminder for sure. So now, Mirza, the last time that we actually talked, you were in the process of writing short stories. I do remember. And but now you're like a newly minted confidence coach. So what made you decide to be a confidence coach? How did that come about?
Here we go again. Joining.
Oh,
um, a friend of mine, her name is Carla Mana. She's the head of the Center for Exponential Leadership and the Center for Executive Coaching, Asia Pacific.
mm,
She last year she won like best global coach. So you can tell from that just how good she is. She had been recruiting me to try to be an executive coach, and I kept resisting because I didn't think I was inclined towards it, or even if I had the makings. But she said, "You have coached over like hundreds of young writers and journalists in Summit Media, and you have also coached like beginning models with the Professional Models Association of the Philippines." And so she felt that I had a natural inclination towards coaching others. And when I thought of it, I realized she was right. And so, and it's kind of what I do through my content, which aims to empower women to achieve their
right.
goals and follow their dreams. And so, once I got to know more about it, I was convinced, and so I took the course and I got my
Mhm.
certification. I still have hundreds of hours more to go before I could really feel like I'm confident enough. Here we go again. The confidence coach needs confidence through experience. But yes, confidence is the niche that I'm trying to um, make a mark in, because
Mm-mm.
I've figured out that Filipinos in general, I think, so many problems stem from a lack of self confidence. I
Right.
think our childhood conditioning tends to be very negative, and I think we could all use some positive reinforcement and confidence building to help us speak up at meetings, speak
Mm-hmm.
up to higher ups, be more assertive about our views.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it gets in the way of your achieving things, I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I think I can help
Right.
in that respect, given my experience in learning how to be confident from being a nerdy computer programmer, walking the runways, to becoming an editor in chief without any credentials. So I think I can help in that respect.
Yeah. And so as a confidence coach, what would you say then to in terms of the areas that Filipino women today need affirmation in? Like what would you like to say to them? I mean, with regard to like the background that you've given, that
Right.
there is like that whole conditioning that we've grown up with.
Yes.
So what would you like
Right.
to say in terms of
I'd like to
Filipino
say
women?
it really stems from self awareness. And the
Hmm.
more you determine or decide who you are and who you want to be, the less you will fear the judgment of others. The more in tune you are with your purpose in life, the more empowered you will become to chase after whatever it is you want with confidence and um, without fear of judgment of others. And
Hmm.
so there's a lot of self work that needs to be done, and really figuring out what you want out of life.
Gotcha.
So, because if I look back, I remember I often get asked, like, because I didn't follow the usual uh, Pinay timetable of married by a certain age, have children by a certain age, and do whatever
Right.
by a certain age. And people often ask me, so did people ever give you a hard time or pressure you or bug you? And I said, all the time, like not just nosy titas, but strangers in ladies' room saying, when are you going to get
What?
married? And then when I got married, when are you going to have children? What's your problem?
Yeah.
When I have children, what do you have against children? I have nothing against children. I love children. I just didn't want to have them.
Hmm.
And I always say that there are a lot of people who bugged me, accosted me, but it never bothered me. And I honestly just laughed because I understood that they didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know me and my goals and my character and my personality and my purpose. They didn't know about me enough to make such a judgment. And so I found it really humorous. And I just thought, well, they're just not exposed to alternative lifestyles or alternative life choices. And I think it's really funny that they're trying to impose on me um, their own beliefs. And so, I tended to just laugh everything off, and it never really affected me. And I think looking back, it stems from the power of knowing who you are,
Yeah.
how do you decided to live your life. And when you've got that down pat, it's not going to affect you anymore.
Okay. All right. Something we can all get a takeaway from is to just figure out what our values are and what we want out of life. So that, there's always gonna be a tita, or I guess a stranger,
Right.
who's
Or a
going to
mar-
ask those questions.
or a marital.
Yeah. Or a marites
Right.
it was not even related to you.
Right.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I totally agree. So now I want to ask a question in terms of, for women who, let's say, they're in STEM, they're higher up, they are an executive, or even they're aspiring to be one, uh, or they are working in male dominated field or
Right.
predominantly men. So what do you think is the best way for women to conduct themselves in a situation where they're the only one or one of few women who are in a meeting room, in a field, in a department that's full of men?
Right. Right. And that lends itself to all kinds of scenarios, right?
Yeah. Just the thought of it is like already anxiety inducing.
Right. I think we really need to learn to hold our own
Hmm.
uh, with whatever gender or whatever kinds of people we are with. And I think assertiveness skills learned early can only help. And have your self-esteem and self-worth really intact. I think being capable is a given, right? I'm assuming that they are as capable as can be, so there's no question about ability.
Hmm.
But I think assertiveness skills and a high sense of self-worth and a sense of, like they say, I deserve to be at the table
Hmm.
can only help. And then the rest, I think, is just skill, practice and skill. And like, I heard somebody say that people treat you the way you teach them to treat you. And I think there's a
Oh.
lot to be said about that. And
Hmm.
so keeping that in mind, if there are instances where you are like undermined or belittled, I think you have to take control of the reins and teach them how to treat you and be assertive about what's not acceptable behavior.
Yeah. Okay. And in terms of graduates or college graduates, female college graduates who are going to be in the workforce soon, like they graduated maybe late last year or this year, what advice would you like to give them as they enter into the workforce? Because it can be scary.
Right. I think just in terms of what?
In terms of like, I guess in terms of looking for a job and landing a job as well, because of
Right.
course there's going to be that rejection. There could be like a sense of rejection also when you do apply for a job. Once you finally get it, like what's good advice that they can keep in mind is this is their first foray into the workforce.
Right. I think as long as, again, it all boils down to your values and your purpose and your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the earlier you figure those out, and of course, you're allowed to change your mind because what
Mm-hmm.
you want to do at 20 is not the same as what you want to do at 30 and 40. But
Right.
if you have kind of a compass of like your life dashboard, just to have like a north star to guide you through your career journey, I think it will help anchor you to achieve what you want. And when
Mm-hmm.
there are obstacles along the way, or there are struggles or challenges, just refer to your goals and your dreams and your purpose. And I think it will really help you make decisions about, should is this what you signed up for? If not, are you learning something from it? What is the benefit of sticking it out here versus leaving? In the long run, what is your goal? Does it help you? This situation propel you forward, or is it derailing you from your goals?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to change your goals? Have you decided to pivot and actually have you found a goal that is more suitable to what you want? And I think as long as you know what you want and where you're going, and again, disclaimer, you are allowed to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think you will have
True.
an easier time and not be so conflicted about, staying in a job that you hate, or working with people you dislike. It's a good way to keep grounded.
Yeah. And I think one way for, I guess, of female graduates or at least women really who are in the workforce and college, etc., can find more inspiration, I guess, and motivation is through your live streams and through your podcast, right? So,
Right.
so you've got TikTok, you've got Ask Miss Mears, and then you also have You Can Do This. So, what do
Yes.
you usually talk about, and who do you usually interview in these
Right.
channels?
Right. I usually interview experts from whom we can learn things. So I have tackled stuff like changing your career during a pandemic, or the art of the pivot,
Mm-hmm.
or easing your stress by managing your time better. Uh, I've talked about uh, getting off the yo-yo dieting and body hating
Oh,
cycle.
yes. Oh my gosh.
I've
I
learned
know
to
that
love
feeling.
your body and improve your relationship with food. I've interviewed a love coach about how the art of being single and being happy. I have featured stress eating, stress eating during a pandemic. I've featured celebrities who have, through their life stories, um, provided some very illuminating insights, like Isa Calzado. The last
Mm-hmm.
one was Giselle Tonji, who talked
Mm-hmm.
about, she said her net worth is her network. And
Mm-hmm.
even if her contemporaries went on to like have all the material trappings of like big cars and big houses, it wasn't the same for her. She took a different path, and at the height
Yeah.
of her career, she left it all, and now she's an artivist, like an activist through art in the film
Mm-hmm.
community in LA. And so there's like a wide variety of guests and experts who really show us that whatever it is we want to do, you can do this.
There we I love that. Is that the caption for your podcast?
Yeah. Well, that's you can do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, for all the monsters who were tuned in, you're tuned in to Heard on Thursdays. I'm talking to Myrza Sison, and we are just about to wrap up. Before I ask you to plug in your shows, your socials as well, so that monsters can follow you and your content, why do you think is join lang ng join needed now more than ever?
Right. Now more than ever, because I think we're all a little bit lost. Uh, I don't know if you read
Yeah.
the New York Times article on languishing, and
Mm.
even if it looks like there's hope, I think we're all acting like the pandemic is over. But
Yeah, that's true. I see it too.
I think we really can't, and it helps to keep that a joining mindset and opening your mind to possibilities rather than problems.
Hmm.
I think it helps to always have a can-do attitude, no matter how bleak things may seem. I mean, after the pandemic, we have the threat of global nuclear war
Oh
looming
gosh.
over our heads.
Hmm.
And I think it can only help to keep positive, to keep thinking that life is still full of possibilities if you just join lang ng join.
Gotcha. Well, Mirza, I leave the floor to you to invite the monsters who are tuned in or watching online via Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. How can they find your content? How can they find your live streams, your podcast? Go, take it away.
Right. My podcast, You Can Do This, is on Spotify. It's under Podcast Network Asia. I'm on almost all the platforms under Myrza, that's Myrza, Sison, Sison. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Kumu. What did I forget? There's also my website, myrza.com. That's myrza.com.
You have a new website? Is that new or old, or like an old one, or did you just
It's
come up with it?
a work in progress.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There's enough
Okay.
in there, but it could really be better. But if you need
Gotcha.
information, it's there.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Right.
Myrza.
Thank
Oh,
you
I had
so
so much
much,
fun.
Nikki.
It's so much fun catching up with you as well. And I'm really looking forward to your short stories, your self empowerment manual, and just to see what's your next chapter, right? I
Oh my
feel like you're
gosh.
going to join something else,
I
which
think I
I
gotta
love though.
concentrate on everything on my plate first.
True. I understand. Well, anyway, for all the monsters tuned in, thank you so much for taking the time and for just, and hopefully this has encouraged you to take the reins in your life, you guys, and just like, live fully in the way that you want. And so with that, I end Heard on Thursdays. Keep it locked only here on The Monster. Bye, guys.